Chapter 84. When they realized their scheme has been exposed, they changed their methods. They attempted to persuade him by using lives of his father and younger sister as bait and subjected him to severe torture, just shy of breaking his bones. Moreover, they had attached a magic bomb to his body which would instantly detonate upon detecting any use of his abilities, rendering him powerless. Devron could only hope that they would sense something was wrong when he failed to return to the cavalry. He cherished his family, but he hated the thought of betraying the cavalry just as much. Incredibly, his heart had hardened in the mere months just since he joined the cavalry to an extent he could hardly believe himself. And now the hope sent by the commander himself had truly appeared before him. Devron knew that the man with black hair standing before him was the most skilled among the 330 cavalry members. The fact that he had come felt like faith and salvation given to him by Commander Kishir, and he couldn't help but shed tears. His patience and faith had been not in vain. Using the lives of your family as a threat, did they show you proof that they were alive? No, but I heard their voices from outside where I'm held. The man named Yidhir spoke using chilling words with an incredibly cool demeanor, neither showing pity nor contempt for Devron. In the past, Devron had thought his coldness distasteful from afar, perhaps due to his exceptional abilities. But now he couldn't have felt more reassured by his attitude. On the day of the fire, did you see who the real perpetrator was? I didn't see, but I know who it was. Who was it? Yidhir asked coldly. Subordinates of a man called the warden. One used wind and the other used fire. They mentioned having a hard time controlling the elements. I think I know who you're talking about based on your description. Yidhir remembered all the abilities used by the warden's awakener subordinates when fighting with Kjol the Diarca. Among them, there was one who used fire and another who controlled wind. Coincidentally, they were currently lying unconscious outside after being hit by a stone. Well, that's fine. It's just surprising that Zakil Harton turned out to be more sinister than I thought. Yidhir had suspected that Zakil Harton was up to something, but he hadn't expected the scope of the incident to be this vast. Zakil Harton, the youngest son of the elderly Lord Harton, despite being the lowest ranked child, unable to inherit any titles or estates, his fate had coincidentally changed when the Lord and his eldest daughter died. After the death of his father and the heiress sister, his older brother, who was gaining power in the Knight's Order, was expected to receive a higher title, hence would pay little attention to the small estate. As a result, Zakil was likely to inherit the estate. All this happened very coincidentally. But could such coincidences be common in the world? Yidhir knew they couldn't and added another line to his prejudiced opinion. If the Apeto family, who wanted to expand their influence in the east, and Zakil, who was low in the succession line, joined hands and planned everything, it makes sense. The elderly lord suddenly decided to send Devron's sister away ahead of the crucial matter of inheritance because someone had informed him about a critical piece of information regarding his eldest son at that very moment. Who could have done it? Was it not the one who had to cause a big incident to prevent the inheritance? Zakil claimed that his delayed response to the fire incident was due to an errand he was running for his father in the next village, a coincidence that happened on the day of the fire. Uther knew that the most suspicious individuals were just like him. When it came to fighting Keol, the warden of the Apito family was highly irritated at Zakel's request for help. In fact, that very statement was the biggest evidence that confirmed Uther's suspicions. Listening to Devron's account makes everything much more certain. Their mistake, however, was their attempt to squeeze Devron Hartwood, a cavalry member, into that perfect evidence. Zakel probably wanted to get rid of Devron, a commoner woman's son he intended to use as a scapegoat for his plan, especially since Devron had suddenly obtained a leave and returned. The Apeto family wouldn't have wanted to miss the opportunity to capture a cavalry member who could provide them with information about Kishir. The two of them had similar interests and dove Devron into a trap, staging his death. They probably thought it would take a lot of time for cavalry to notice Devron's disappearance and send an investigation team. However, Kishir sent people much sooner than expected, and unfortunately for them, Uther himself was included. Now it was about to become their misfortune, starting now. Uther listened to Devron sobbing. He lay on the floor, nursing his cold anger. No matter what he had been through, Devron was still alive. His limbs were intact, and if he could escape from here, he would make an excellent witness to these series of events. Devron, what do you think they are planning to do with you if they couldn't extract information from you? Uther slowly asked his final question, contemplating his next move. Devron's eyes, swallowed from the beating, darkened with hatred and fear. They said they would send me to the Aperto main house. There are more skilled torturers and mages there. They said I would make a good test subject. As he continued speaking, Devron gritted his teeth. I remember them saying that. Test subject? That's what they kept telling me. They kept using the word test subject and spoke in a language I couldn't understand. Did that mean the Awakeners kidnapped by the Apeto family were being used for some sort of experiment? I have heard something similar before. Uther searched through his memories of his past life. When the Awakeners first appeared, all sorts of mages and priests flocked around them, trying to understand the source of their power and any peculiarities. Most conducted their research in public, but there were grim rumors of those who conducted their investigations in secret, employing methods that couldn't be exposed to the world. Of course, a lot had been discovered about the Awakeners as research progressed, and the population's transformation increased day by day, gradually slowing down the trend of conducting research by any means necessary. It didn't just calm down. There were so many chaotic incidents back then that could be part of that reason. Uther shook his head to clear his thoughts. He had heard everything he needed from Devron, and now it was time to move. Devron, can you stand? I can. Despite being tortured for several days, Devron's tenacity had not died. Whether it was his large frame or thick bones, Devron managed to push himself up, leaning against the wall for some support. Uther was impressed by Devron's grit as he bit down on his pain and groaned. Such is the way of the cavalry. From this point onward, I will free the people trapped in other rooms. Once we figure out the reason they were detained, I will release them to you. You must escape this place. If you happen to find your family in the process, that would be excellent. If I find them first, I promise to unconditionally protect them and take them with us. So, you can rest assured, your ability You said something about a bomb attached. Where is it? Oh, on my back. Devron hastily lifted the hem of his shabby shirt. There is an ingeniously unreachable position was a small black magic stone. The stone was in fact a cheap piece embedded with a low-level spill. As long as the condition of the detonation was met, it was not too difficult to remove. The other immediately detached the magical stone and put it in his pocket. A relieved sigh escaped from Devron, his expression bewildered. You have removed it? Yes, just like that. It's nothing if you know how. Here, catch. Yudhir tossed Devron a small dagger he had taken from the possessions of the men they had encountered outside the cave. Grasping it, Devron's expression hardened with resolve. Can you use your ability? It's fine. All the guys we encounter on our way out. I won't let them be. Even in his heavily wounded state, Devron, who had never lost spirit, had been tortured out of the fear of a cheap magic stone bomb. In his previous life, even a newly joined recruit would not have been afraid of such a thing. Yudhir resolved to strongly recommend including methods to dismantle these cheap toys made by the mages when he got back to the cavalry training program. If Kishir were in charge, he would certainly accept. Let's go. Emerging outside the cell, Yudhir opened all the cell doors and signaled to Devron. I will dismantle all the chains. Let's share the responsibility of bringing them out here. Therefore, their operation proceeded swiftly and efficiently. Before long, except for the last prison where Kiol was being held, all 13 prisoners and 2 intruders who had been locked in the 8 prisons gathered in a small space in the middle of the cells. Most of the confined people were like Devron, awakeners from the east who had resisted being taken away to Apetto Duchy and thus has been imprisoned. And, very fortunately for Devron, among those imprisoned were his family. Father, Darmelia, brother, Devron's younger sister, had been gagged in such a way that she couldn't speak. It soon became apparent that his father had been forced to swallow a pill that took away his voice, presumably because they thought he was too old to withstand such a gag. But such a condition could be treated as long as they were alive. Devron hugged his family, tears streaming down his face. His deeply worried family had been trapped in the very next room, suffering in silence. Unable to even confirm each other's well-being, looking at them, Yudhir exhaled deeply once more. The fact that they had been so thoroughly imprisoned but not killed was indeed a testament to how much Apetto Duchy valued the cavalry member Devron. Why though? Was there a need to extract information related to the cavalry to such an extent?